Hey everyone, how's it going? Let's talk about your home recording studio. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Behringer U-Phoria. This is the UMC22. I'm mainly interested in this interface because of its price point. This one in particular costs $40. That's a pretty unheard of price point for a full-fledged audio interface with a preamp, with balanced inputs and outputs and everything. This actually isn't even the cheapest one in the line. There's another one for $30, but it for the outputs it only has the RCA style. This one for an extra $10 adds balanced TRS quarter-inch outputs, so you can plug it directly into a pair of kind of pro audio monitors if you like. So hey, let's crack this box open. Let's see what all comes in the package. All right, we got a good old quick start guide, user manual, and a handy sticker. And the unit itself. Get these out of the way. All right, packed it with a little bit of silica gel. There's not going to be a graceful way to open this, so I am just going to get to tearing. Aha! There we go. All right. Okay, you know, pretty simple little box here. There's not a whole lot to it. This is a 2 input, 2 output interface. So we have one combo TRS TS and XLR input, so you can plug a microphone in or an instrument or a line input. You have another quarter-inch input. This one is just marked as instrument. I'll be kind of curious if it only takes an instrument input or if you might be able to get a stereo line input into it. We have a control for the gain of the preamp. We have a control for the gain of the instrument input. And it looks like we have a headphone level control. Actually, it just says output. And from what I understand, the headphone and so you got the headphone input here on the front. On the back you have your stereo quarter-inch output, so you'd plug into your monitors. You got your USB and your phantom power switch. So that's pretty cool. So you get phantom power, you get an XLR input, you get an instrument input, headphone jack, and USB connectivity, all for $40. And that, I mean, is it too good to be true? I guess we'll find out. Looking around, they didn't supply a USB cable with it. That's handy. Yep, no sign of a USB cable. So I guess we're up to our own devices to provide our own USB cable. And this is the USB, I believe that's the B type, I think. And then you would use the A type to plug into your computer. So fortunately, I do have a couple of those hanging around. So let me go track one down and we'll plug it in. Let's see how this thing works. Okay, let's see what happens here. Alright, I've had to switch to my camera's audio because I was recording through my existing audio interface, and since you can't have 2 ASIO devices running at the same time, I am just going to go off camera audio for now. Alright, I'm going to plug it in here. Let's see what happens. Does anything come up? Alright, good sign that we get the power light comes on here, little orange LED, so it's just running right off bus power. There's nowhere to plug in a power adapter or anything, so this is just going to run off of the 5 volts that comes through the USB cable. Alright, so I don't see anything on on the computer. So no like automatic installation of drivers or anything came up. Alright, well I guess first things first here, go to Behringer's website and see if we can download some drivers for it. Alright, so I'm just going to Google Behringer. Let's see what happens. And you know, the funny thing is, apparently Behringer doesn't have their own website. They don't have their own domain. There's no like Behringer.com, or if there is, it's not this company, which is kind of crappy. That's kind of weird in this day and age to not have your own domain. I mean, Behringer Audio or something. I mean, you know, come on, guys. It costs like, you know, $20 a year to have your own domain. Come on. So where you have to go is musicgroup.com, music-group.com. Doesn't that just scream the Behringer brand name? Alright, so what we're going to want to do, let's go to products. Actually, let's go to downloads. And we're going to go to computer audio, audio interfaces. And we want the UMC22, I believe. Yes, UMC22. So let's say drivers. And now this is kind of funny. They don't even have their own drivers. Apparently, they just expect you to use ASIO for All, which is a third-party ASIO driver. It's not specific to this device. It's just a generic ASIO driver that you could use for any device, which again, kind of weird. Alright, well, let's download that. Of course, I agree. Let's download it. Alright, well, I guess since they're just going to give us a generic driver, let's just Google that driver and see if we can find a mirror site for it. Now, you have to be careful because you don't want to go to some shady site that's going to package some unwanted software with it. You know, it can be spyware, malware, might be outright just be a virus. So I'll see if I can find a good, reputable source for this driver, and I'll link it in the comments below. Okay, actually it looks like they just had a bad link on their website. Behringer had a bad link. It is actually ASIO4all.com. So if you go to ASIO4all.com, and I would like it in English, it downloads for me. Let's just run it, install it. Welcome to the setup wizard, yay. Of course I accept. Now I don't want anything else. I don't want whatever rewuschel. Oh, that must be German for rewire. I don't care to have that. Alright, let's just install it. Default location. Great. Okay, let's fire up Reaper and let's see if we can recognize this audio device in Reaper. Okay, so in Reaper I'm going to go to Options. Whoops, to Options, Preferences. I want to go to Audio and Device. I want to use ASIO, I believe, unless ASIO for All is its own thing. Nope, I want ASIO. And the ASIO driver, I want to use ASIO for All, and this is V2, version 2. Now if I click ASIO configuration, I'm kind of curious what I get. Let's see what comes up. Oh hey, there is a little ASIO control panel here. Now, yes, I don't want RME Fireface UCX. I don't want Realtek because that's my built-in audio chip. VB audio hi-fi cable. I have no idea what that is. And USB audio codec. I have a feeling that's probably this device here. So let's click USB audio codec. Let's set that. Oh, and we get a little buffer size adjustment here. So let's crank that down to, let's give it like 128 samples maybe. Okay, and over in Reaper, I'm going to uncheck this request because I don't want it to get confused as to what I'm trying to do. Okay, I'm just going to tell it okay, and let's go back to options again. Let's go to preferences. There we go. Now I see USB audio codec 1 and 2. I want output first as 1 and output last as 2. I'm going to leave these unchecked. I'm going to say OK. And just as kind of a precaution here, I'm going to shut down Reaper. And I'll close the website as well. Let's open Reaper again. I'm going to go back to options just to make sure it retained everything. Looks good. Looks great. Okay, so up here, it's showing a default of 44.1 kilohertz as my sample rate. I didn't see a way in this control panel to set that. Of course, my control panel went away here. It says I've got 2 inputs, 2 outputs, 128 samples, 128 sample buffer size. It's reporting a latency of 3.6 milliseconds in, 3.6 milliseconds out. That's not bad. I might be able to crank that ASIO buffer size down a little bit and get a little faster latency, but I think that this will work all right. Okay, well let's plug a microphone into it and see what happens. All right, here we go. So I've got Shure SM81 here that I use for narration. So I'm just going to plug that in. I'm going to flip the 48 volt phantom power on. And see if that works. I am going to plug my headphones in. And I'm going to turn on the direct monitor. And let's see if I can get a little signal into my headphones. Alright, first I'll turn my headphones up a little bit, and now I'll turn the input up a little bit. Test, test, test. I don't hear anything. Test, 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 test. 1, 2. Phantom power is on. I am plugged in. Is it giving me any sort of... There's no indication. There's no like LED for signal present or clip or anything. So let me just turn this up a little more. Turn you up a little more. Test, test. Hey, there we go. Now I can hear it. Alright, so now test, test. Test 1, 2. Alright, so I've got the headphone volume pretty much cranked all the way up, and the preamp volume probably at about 70 to 75% to full volume, of the volume available, in order to get a pretty solid headphone signal. Now these headphones, these are the Sennheiser HD380 Pro, and I thought they would say what their resistance is, but it doesn't. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure. You know, the amount of volume you can get out of your headphones depends on how much resistance they provide to the headphone output. I have a feeling they're probably in that 64 ohm-ish kind of range. All right, so let's go to Reaper here. Let's create a new track. I'm just going to call this vocal. I'm going to use, for the input, USB, it's a mono input, USB audio codec 1. Let's arm it for recording. Test. Test, test. Hey, there we go. You can actually hear. All right, good. Okay, good deal. So, yeah, this is just a pencil condenser microphone straight into the microphone input here. Phantom power engaged. You know, seems to sound okay as far as I can tell. You know, nothing, the preamp doesn't seem all that noisy. I'm getting a nice strong signal. Let me crank the preamp up just a little bit more. Get just a little bit of background noise, and you can hear my voice it's louder. You know, that's okay. Let's crank it all the way up. And okay, yeah, that is pretty much all the way up. Yeah, hey, that's actually relatively low noise. It seems to have a pretty fair amount of gain. The SM81 is not a particularly sensitive microphone, so it tends to need a little bit more gain. And if it can get me, just at a speaking voice, peaking between -12 and -6 on the dBu meter here, hey, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right, let me turn this back down to a more comfortable level. Okay. There we go. So, microphone preamp seems to work pretty well. Let's try the direct input. Let's see what happens. Okay, so I am going to create a new track here. Let's call this one bass. So I'm just going to send a bass guitar into it. Actually, let's do one thing here real quick. Gonna toss down just a simple drum beat. Alright, so let's load Easy Drummer. Let's look under VSTI. Let's load him up. Give him a second. Alright, let's go to search. Tap to find. Let's just find the easiest thing we can. Oh wow. Yeah, a little bit more latency than, let's clear that there. Actually, I think that's going to be a little too latent to try to tap in a rhythm, just slow enough that, you know, throws you off. So let's just go to the browser. Let's just find pop rock. What's Groove One? Let's audition this real quick. All right, perfect. Just some silly little thing. All right, come on, work with me. Okay, so let's just drag that into Easy Drummer. Let's give ourselves a couple measures of lead-in time. Give ourselves a 2 count there. And let's give ourselves a good 16 bars or so. How's that? All right, fantastic. Let's just give a little test. All right, I'm gonna turn that down some. Wow, that's one heck of a kick drum there. Okay, great. All right, so let's plug a bass directly in. Let's use the instrument input on this and see what we can do. All right, got a bass here. Whoops, that I'm clanking around all over the place. All right, let's plug this into the. Turn this around so I can see it. Let's plug it into the instrument input. All right, I got direct monitor on still, so I'll be able to hear it in the headphones. Okay, so let's configure the bass input. So that's going to be input mono USB audio codec number 2. Let's arm it for recording. Now I'm going to turn direct monitor off and see if I can monitor through software just to get a feel for what the latency is like. So direct monitor button is right here. Okay, I am going to real quick monitor myself. Okay, and that's not too bad. I'll get a little bit of an echo. Okay, so now I'm going to monitor first arm for recording. I'm gonna put monitoring on. Okay, you know, latency not too bad. There's a little bit of noticeable latency. It sounds more like a very, very fast slapback delay. Or maybe a little bit of kind of phasing maybe. So yeah, I don't think it's enough to really throw me off. So that's with the ASIO buffer set to 128 samples. I might be able to crank it down a little less than that. Actually, heck, let's give that a try real quick and see. All right, so I set the sample, the ASIO buffer size down to 64 samples. Listening to it now, it did, you can see here in Reaper, now it's reporting a lower latency. About 2.1 milliseconds in each direction. I can still hear just a tiny bit of that very, very fast slapback delay kind of sound between the sound of my voice and actually hearing it back through my headphones. But again, that's pretty marvelous latency for such an inexpensive device. Okay, so let's go back and... Okay, I can hear. Okay, yeah, we'll just play something silly and stupid here. I'll turn on the metronome. Let's go back to the first. And yeah, let's just record something silly here and see what happens. All right, good. I'll hit stop. Sure, we'll consider that good. And so that was bass direct in. I've got the instrument input just over halfway, 50%, and you can see got a nice strong signal in there. There's room to crank it a little bit more, but there's probably no need to. I have a feeling the noise floor is probably pretty acceptable here. All right, let's have a quick listen to how that sounds. Not bad, not bad at all. You know, there's a little bit of a kind of growl to it, maybe just a little bit of harmonic distortion to it, so you could probably turn it down a little bit more, get a little cleaner signal. All right, let's plug a guitar in and see what we can do with that. All right, I got my old Jazzmaster here. It's got single coil pickups, so they might be a little noisy here. If it is, so far we can assume it's no fault of the interface. It's just these 50-year-old pickups. They're just a little noisy. Plus they're single coils, which by nature are pretty noisy. All right, let's disable bass track. Let's add a new track. We'll call it guitar. 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 All right, I've played it long enough. You think I could type it? Okay, and now we're gonna set him. He is gonna be input number 2. We'll do this. We'll turn on some monitoring. Alright, so these pickups are substantially lower output than the ones from that bass, so I'm going to crank up the input a little bit. And I'm going to grab myself a pick. Alright, maybe just a little too hot. Let's turn it back down a little bit. Yeah, let's turn it down just a little bit more. Alright. Alright, this was in tune last night. I'm not going to bother sitting and tuning it, but yeah, I don't know. Let's see what we end up with here. So we're armed for recording on the guitar. I'm going to do kind of what I did in my other thing here. Let's actually load a... There we go. Let's load... Let's see here. We want a guitar amp mono. Alright, let's see what all we got to choose from here. Yeah, let's do a little bit of drive. How about cream, whatever that is. pretty quacky. Let's get rid of a little bit of mids out of there. A little bit of treble. We'll crank the bass up a little bit. And let's turn his level down some. Alright, we can add some of that mid back. Maybe a little more mid. Yeah, maybe add that treble back. Alright, not exactly a terrific tone, but let's go with it. 12-inch close back. Let's see if they have a close thing to a SM57 on axis. Alright, well, good enough for now. That still kind of sounds like hammered poop, but alright, let's see what we end up with here. No idea what I'm going to play, but let's see what happens. Alright, ain't good enough. Yeah, that's still pretty terrible, but we'll go with it. Alright, let's see. I don't know. Want to try to... Let's throw a cheap microphone and some vocals through it and see what happens. Alright. Okay, what I've got plugged in now is an MXL 990. This is just a super cheap microphone you can get for, I don't know, 60 bucks or something. I think Musician's Friend still offers them for 60, 80 bucks. So that's what I'm speaking through here. I'm plugged directly into the input, and actually this is substantially hotter than the SM81. Alright, so I'm just gonna sing some stupid, you know, words off the top of my head just for the sake of completing this silly project. Alright, let's see what happens.
Making noise today. I'm making noise today. The neighbors think I'm too loud. I don't know what to say. I'm making noise today. I'm being loud my way. If you think I'm too loud, I don't know what to say.
Alright, yeah, that was incredibly stupid, but alright. And actually, I got a really, really strong signal off of that, so let's listen back to it and make sure that that didn't distort. The preamp volume I've got at probably about 60% or so. That was a really, really hot. I could tell. And I can even tell by the shape of the waveforms here on my recorded track. Yeah, that's pretty hot. I didn't realize this mic was so much hotter than an SM81, so let's just hear it back and see what it sounds like.
Making noise today. Making noise today. The neighbors think I'm too loud. I don't know what to say. I'm making noise today. I'm being loud my way. If you think I'm too loud, I don't know what to say.
All right, that is sufficiently awful. Let me turn my monitoring back on here. All right, can hear myself. Yeah, that was sufficiently terrible, but hopefully it gives you a good idea of what all this little box is capable of. Just a quick review. Okay, it's a 2 input, 2 output, so you get an XLR input. That's a combo input. You can also plug a 1/4 inch into it. You get an instrument input, and they each have their own independent gain controls. You get a headphone output and 2 1/4 inch left and right stereo main outputs. Now, the one big caveat here that I see, and I have not plugged this into my speakers. It'd be kind of a pain here, but there is one volume control for the whole thing. So if you're using headphones and you also have speakers plugged into it, hopefully you have some way to either unplug your speakers, turn your speakers down, or turn your speakers off, because as soon as you turn the one and only output control up, you're controlling the volume not only for the headphones but for your speakers as well. And that's going to be problematic anytime you're using a microphone. So that's definitely one drawback here. So hopefully you have some way to unplug or disable your speakers while you're using headphones recording into a microphone. Another couple of drawbacks: they don't give you a USB cable in the box, and they don't provide a driver disc or anything, or their own drivers. They make you use some generic drivers for the ASIO for all drivers, and the link on their website to download the drivers is broken. So I'll put the link to the actual ASIO for all drivers down there. So, but I mean, all in all, the preamp sounds very low noise. It sounds pretty good, I think. It's got a lot of gain to it. The instrument input has got a lot of gain to it. It could take 50-year-old pickups and get a hot signal out of them. It could take Mexican-made passive bass pickups and get a hot signal out of those. I think that's pretty darn good. Able to get some really decent latency settings out of it. Reaper's reporting just over 2 milliseconds in each direction. I'm monitoring through software and not having trouble keeping time, at least not any more trouble than I would normally have. And while I am certainly never gonna win any awards for making up songs off the top of my head in front of a camera, hopefully this all just at least illustrates what it's capable of. And the most impressive thing I really think about it is this thing costs $40. I mean, that's pretty ridiculously cheap for an audio interface with a built-in preamp. This is, and the true entry level into this line is, I believe it's just the UM2, and that thing is $30. I mean, that's pretty good that you can at least get in the door, and for $30 or $40, a cheap $60 microphone, and if you already have an instrument or two plugged straight into it, I'd say that's pretty impressive all in all. Alright, well, I hope this has been some help if you're shopping for your first audio interface. The Behringer UMC22, that's a pretty attractive option in the entry-level range of audio interfaces. It could use some fancier features, but really for the money, I can't really complain too much. Alright, well, hopefully this has been some help to you. If you have any questions, comments, your own experiences with this little box, or any in the U-Phoria family, leave them below in the comments. And I guess I'll see you guys next time.
Making noise today. Making noise today. The neighbors think I'm too loud. I don't know what to say. I'm making noise today. I'm being loud my way. If you think I'm too loud, I don't know what to say.